Good afternoon, all. We are here today, as you all know, for the Supervised Release Committee meeting scheduled for today, October 20th, 2022. And I'm calling the meeting to order, and I would like to start with a roll call vote to establish a quorum. Adam Dorn.
Here.
Michael Elder.
Here.
Bill Tobel.
Here.
Mary Ann Miller, Corp Counsel, here. The state, Angie Surwa and Kristen Keel.
Here. Here.
And probation and parole, Hans Rufenacht.
Here.
So we have established a quorum. And now I need and we also have Jeff Mann, who's with my office, who just arrived. We've established a quorum, and now I need a motion to approve the agenda for today. Do I have a motion?
Motion. Second.
Thank you. So Dr. Topol made the motion. Mr. Dorn seconded. And now what we're going to go on to the next item is the update regarding Mr. Pollock. As the committee knows, on August 19th, the county satisfied its statutory obligation by noticing to Judge Jorgensen that the committee voted unanimously to house Mr. Pollock on land owned by Winnebago County on the West 800 block of County Road Y in Oshkosh. We had a hearing about a week ago that Attorney Mann attended along with Mr. Elder, and I wanted to first give the committee a brief update. So if Attorney Mann and Mr. Elder could provide it.
Yeah, we did have this hearing, and this was in front of Branch 5 in front of Judge Jorgensen. And really the purpose of that hearing was kind of to update the court essentially on where we're at for housing for this gentleman. I will tell you that as we know, we have provided a space, an address. We have provided a landlord. In terms of actually having a physical structure to refer to at the moment, we don't. We're in the process of that, and that was explained to the court.
Can you tell the
Sure.
committee where we stand in terms of that process?
Well, and Mike Elder was also there for facilities, and he did go ahead and he did explain, kind of looking ahead, what the timeline was going to look like. And it's basically the different committees that we're going to be going in front of here within the next 90 days. And ultimately, it's our expectations that bidding will be out by the first of the year, and the groundbreaking then can occur hopefully in the spring or first thaw. And Mike, you can fill in any of the details if that's not accurate.
That's pretty accurate. We've got plans to go before the planning department and the planning review board early in November, and going before city council, I believe, in December. And then we are preparing all of our documentations pending the approval of the city to go out for bid January 2nd.
And Attorney Lockwood, Alejandro Lockwood, represents Mr. Pollock in this case. He obviously was asked his thoughts. He voiced some displeasure with the process, specifically that it's expected that we won't have an actual building to move this gentleman into until the fall of 2023. I will tell the committee here today that the court viewed that with some concern. I know that because the judge said as much. My impression is that the judge is sympathetic to the different challenges that we're facing. We're trying to identify housing, especially limited housing in this market with all the restrictions, and the court did note that. But at the same time, the court also is concerned about allowing this to go until next fall without placing this fellow.
So to follow up on that, given the fact that there is a resident in the trailer, as you know, we have 2 residents in the trailer right now. and one of them has been there for more than 2 years. My question is, and given the fact that it's typical, at least based on our experience for the numerous 980s we've had, that they leave within shortly after 2 years, if not at the 2-year mark. Can you tell us where things stand with the resident who has had a 2-year anniversary date in September in terms of his leaving?
Sure. I can speak generally. I can't give specific details right on his case or treatment because we're in open session. However, Chapter 980 commitment is for an undetermined amount of time. So until the individual petitions and follows through with the discharge process, he will remain in that house unless he's removed for other reasons.
Is there any petition that has been filed?
I don't believe so. I can review his file to ensure that that's the case, but I don't believe so.
And have there been any issues that you're aware of that warranted his removal?
Not at this time, no.
Can I just ask a clarifying question? John Dibble here, Winnebago County Executive. So I just want to make sure I understand the process right. It is up to that individual to start the petition on their own?
Individuals on supervised release and in conjunction with their attorneys can file petitions for discharge from 980 commitment. The supervised release program has no involvement in that. However, individuals under Chapter 980, including those on supervised release, can participate in annual 980 evaluations, which can assist with that process. However, the supervised release program does not participate in the discharge filing process.
So just a further clarification, if you wouldn't mind. So if somebody on supervised release wished to stay there indefinitely, they have that ability?
Like I said, unless they're removed for other reasons, they violated their rules or the department pursues revocation, we don't involve ourselves with the discharge petition process.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Can I add just one little thing?
Yes.
So I'll be brief. The court essentially then proceeded to schedule us for a review hearing, which will be, my understanding is next month, I want to say, December 5th, excuse me, first week in December. At which time the court did make clear that they considered it an evidentiary hearing, although oddly enough, only scheduled it then for half an hour, which is not a very long evidentiary hearing, but does want to know what all the reasonable efforts that the county has been taking in an attempt to procure housing for this individual. And obviously, I think what the court is getting at is above and beyond what's already been settled on at County Road Y, if any type of alternate or interim housing is being taken into consideration. I can tell you that the answer to that is yes. I have looked, I've talked to between 10 and 15 different landlords. Of course, nobody has offered up a location necessarily at this point, but several have expressed interest in the event that we were able to somehow point them in the right direction. Needless to say, that's not an easy task. Otherwise, we probably wouldn't be wringing our hands as we are. But that's neither here nor there. The court is going to have the review hearing. And again, we'll want to know. My expectation is that I will be at that hearing, and I'll probably be laying out probably who I've talked to. I can tell you I've talked to a number of individuals, both through telephone and email. But that's where we sit.
Okay. I just want to add, this is Bill Topol. I'd like to ask a question, hypothetical. The county is actually the landlord of property. And if we chose to evict a person from that property, what would your response be likely? Or don't you know?
I can say I don't know the answer to that question because given that individual is also placed there under Act 184 by this committee, I'm not sure what the process would be.
You'd be probably responsible to find, you would probably be responsible to find another place, correct?
I can't say that. That's not something I don't know that process.
I guess I just want to make a couple clarifying comments here. First of all, Winnebago County is more than willing to work with, and I think we've showed that. We want to come up with a solution here. It was a very hard task for me to go to my board and get $1 million appropriated to actually build housing that is going to be individual units that will be ADA compliant and will be able to respect the constitutional rights of these supervised release people. There are plenty of other counties that are watching our situation right now to see how it's going to work out and follow suit. And I would like to think that the model that Winnebago County is taking is probably the way that most counties should go for this situation. And so for me, my interest in this particular case is more than just about the individual we're trying to release on supervised release, but it's the model of counties going forward. How do we respect the constitutional rights of these people, and how do we respect to do it with dignity? And I'm afraid that if we push and we find another spot, and if it does come to fruition, our board's going to look at that, be very upset. Other counties are going to take a look at that and be very upset. So there's more than just this person that I'm looking at when I evaluate the situation. So it's clear that there's nothing we can do to have the resident that's there now start that appeal process to be outright released. But in the same aspect, I want to be very clear as the county executive that I want to hold my ground as this is the way forward, so we can show that model for all the other counties. And if I am forced to find another spot and place him, we could jeopardize the model in entirety. Is anybody in disagreement with that? Is there anything I missed there?
I will say that at least one county has reached out to me, and that's Rock County. And they have actively talked to me, and I've talked to them, and we have discussed the model that we've been using. So that is true. There is some interest statewide amongst the different counties about what we're doing and how we're going about implementing that.
Right. In a time where people are struggling, to appropriate $1 million of county funds to build these individual units that respects their dignity and their constitutional rights. It's very fragile right now. And I think the other counties in the states are looking, and I think this is the right approach. So I guess we're just looking from guidance on you how we can navigate this the best way forward.
I guess, can you just clarify specifically what you're asking of me or of DHS? Because I unfortunately, I've just not been involved in any eviction process when it comes to this type of situation. So I can't speak from experience, right? So I don't have any legal investment in that. I can't speak to that. That's my response to the eviction piece. I can't say what would happen or what DHS would be responsible for, since we've not experienced that under Act 184.
Let me be clear. Act 184 and 980 does specifically task the county with finding appropriate residents. And once we do that, our responsibilities are satisfied. So we have found appropriate residences for actually 2 people in that trailer right now. And as County Executive Damel indicated, the Board of Supervisors approved $1 million to put up another residence for this third person who may be coming.
To be clear, multiple, how many units?
Up to 12.
Up to 12, because we want to be cognizant of the fact that there may be a female 980 in the future, or whatever situation there is, that we don't run into the same issues we've had in the past.
I guess if I can paraphrase what the county executive says, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but having been at the court hearing with Attorney Mann, the county is beyond making a good faith effort. I mean, a good faith effort is going out and looking what places are available. We have committed $1 million of our taxpayers' money to build a facility that meets everybody's needs. And I think that deserves some support from the state, saying that Winnebago County has gone above and beyond a good faith effort to find a location to house these people. They have actually committed big dollars. You know, to me, $1 million is a significant amount of money. And when we're talking about people in various economic status of our county who have contributed to this, I don't think Winnebago County should be penalized because we're taking a track that is a long-term suitable facility for these individuals. And it just seemed like we were not getting much support from the state at the hearing. So I don't know if I paraphrased what the county executive said, but that's my opinion. And we have been moving mountains to get this done as fast as possible. I try to tell people, contractors and consultants and engineers and architects are not just waiting around for Winnebago County to come up with a project for them to do. We have called in favors to get this project fast-tracked to the point where it is. Mm-hmm. So I'm asking, as a county representative, that we get some help with stressing that this is more than just a good faith effort. We are on the leading edge of trying to do this statewide, probably countrywide, because there's 980s all over the country. So I've said my piece. I'll just sit back here.
Probably a little more emotion than I would have led with, Mike, but I love that about you.
And I'll just, this is Bill, I'll just add that, you know, I've heard you folks talk about, well, you know, our role is this and your role is that, and you're just going to comment on, you know, is there a place ready to go or not? Angie, you made that statement, the first one we had, that, you know, my role is to basically just comment whether or not there's a place, and I can't say that there's a place because it doesn't exist. I heard all of that. And what Mike is asking is not to say that we have a place ready to go, because we don't right now, but at least to be able to contribute when the time comes when DOC is to speak in the hearing about where things are at. You can certainly say, Your Honor, there's no place right now ready to go. However, the county, you know, is it definitely well underway in getting one set. I think you could say that. Whether you choose to say that, I guess we're asking you to say something about that and not just stop at, well, I can't say anything about anything other than it's not ready to go.
And to add to that, part of our planning process has been individual units. So it is not a complex. They are individual units, like a shotgun style house, long and skinny, that we can rush on the first one to get it done before we even start on the last one. So we can make sure that compliance, and hopefully at the end of this whole process, we can stand together next to you to say, this is the model, this is what works going forward.
So I guess I can speak to that. And just as a reminder, I'm not with DOC. I'm with Department of Health Services. I heard Dr. Topol mention DOC, and unfortunately, I'm with Department of Health Services. So
well, I'm sorry. Sorry.
If asked to attend a hearing and subpoenaed to provide evidence, I've done so with other committees as it relates to efforts from the committee. At this time, that's not occurred. So that's not something that, if I'm asked to do so, if I'm subpoenaed to do so, I have done that in other cases.
And in this case, because you can assume you're going to get subpoenaed, will you support the position of Winnebago County that it has gone beyond using good faith efforts to try to find housing for this man?
I will provide the facts when I'm asked those questions. Yes.
And what is your interpretation of the facts?
I will outline what this committee's been doing as it relates to, I mean, I don't have the specifics on contractors and things like that. I can't speak to that unless I'm provided that information ahead of time. Regarding looking at alternative housing during this interim is something the committee is doing, and I can speak to that as well. Regularly meeting. The facts about what this committee is doing is something that I can speak to.
Can I ask, and maybe I just need to back up here and the model that we're pursuing, does anybody have an issue with the model we're pursuing?
I am on other committees that are not interested in using this model or pursuing being the landlord as the county and finding housing or owning property by the county. I am on committees that are not interested in that model.
Okay. Do you see any flaws in the model that we're choosing?
As long as the individuals are placed on supervised release in the house that's appropriate and the law is followed, I don't see an issue with it.
Okay.
And it is true, just to notify or update, remind the county exec, there are other counties that have used this model. Specifically, Door County has housing established, or they're in the process of putting up, because I know we've spoken with them about this. So we are not the only ones doing this, but we're certainly on the forefront.
Right.
So I guess we have evidentiary hearing on December 5th to show basically what the committee has done to reach out. Jeff has reached out, and obviously if there's nothing appropriate, because the key is to find something appropriate. Again, we're just going to have to lay out everything that has been done, including the $1 million that has been set aside. But again, given the fact that this is a committee not just made of Winnebago County, but the state, probation and parole, and given the fact that we have been pulling the lady before, I would ask and suggest that the state perhaps make some calls to again show to the court that we have been making good faith efforts in terms of the housing. Angie, would you take that on?
Who are you asking me to call?
Whoever we may need, not in terms of the building piece. I am talking about if we had to, again, continue in Jeff's efforts, which again, we really we're just focusing on the $1 million, but again, to show the court that we have been making efforts in terms of reaching out to realtors or whoever it may be. Would you continue to do that?
I guess if I'm following up on a phone call, or you're asking me to cold call people, I guess I'm not clear, and I don't want to I don't want to commit to something I'm not quite understanding what you're asking.
Okay. It would be basically to taking up where Attorney Mann had left off.
Okay, and why is DHS being asked to do that?
Well, because I think it's good to have a new set of eyes to look into this.
Okay, so are you providing me a list, or?
Yeah, I think it's the list that initially you may have provided to Attorney Mann.
Okay, so of the previous landlords we've already provided to this committee?
There's been a list that I actually have created, and I'm looking through the files here for it. But long story short, Angie, it has a number of landlords, and then it's been further winnowed down into those who have actually showed or been receptive to the messages. And basically, it reiterated that they would be willing to work with us to try to identify an appropriate housing option.
Okay, so an original list that was generated by DHS and provided to this committee.
It certainly included original DHS provided information. Yes.
Yeah, I'm happy to outreach and provide and reiterate that Winnebago County is currently searching, and if they're interested, to outreach to the committee. That would be typically what we would do.
Okay. That's all I needed to know. That's all I needed to know. Okay. Is there anything, so December 5th is the evidentiary hearing. Angie, we will send you a subpoena for that hearing. I believe that's a Friday.
It's a Monday.
Okay. It's a
I just
Monday.
want to apologize to the committee. I have to step out. I have another meeting to get to, but thank you very much for your time and your help with the entire process. I very much appreciate it. Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right, so if there is anything else that needs to be raised, I think we are set. So I would entertain.
Or we're gonna have another.
Well, we need to talk about another date.
Yeah.
I'm thinking we should do it after the evidentiary hearing. So perhaps on the week of December 12th. Does that look, is that open for anybody?
Everything except Wednesday morning.
Okay. I'll let you go.
I'm trying to get my schedule.
Okay.
What was suggested? I didn't hear the date.
We could do Monday, December 12th.
I can see in the afternoon.
In the afternoon.
That's fine.
Okay. Maybe about 1 o'clock.
I'm in a meeting from 1 to 3, so I could do 3 o'clock. Chris, are you available at that time?
3 o'clock on a Monday.
Okay, that's not going to work.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. How about Tuesday, December 13th?
To 3.
You're available?
Yeah, 10, 11, 3.
11 works for me. Chris, does that work for you? She's saying yes.
Okay. So 11 o'clock. Mike, can you do it? On Tuesday, December 13th, we will send out the agenda and the Zoom link. Okay, and then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second. We are adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank
Thank you.